Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle. I'm the founder and the CEO of Vollar. Vollar is a social enterprise that is creating a digital currency that is used for funding social upliftment. So back in 2011, I was working amongst the poor and homeless of Pretoria East. It was there where I was introduced to a Zimbabwean refugee called Maurice. And as Maurice and I became friends, Maurice opened up to me about his story and his pain, having no work, no opportunities, and no passport, made every single day a fight for survival. Now, me being there listening to him, I knew in that moment I had no way of making any long-term impact in Maurice's life. We know these problems. We know there's no job opportunities or skills development. And the problem we all face is when we support these people, how do we ensure financial accountability for where the money actually goes to? Our solution, Vollar, is to turn corporate social investment into an alternative currency that can be earned through participation in community upliftment and traded within our regulated network of retail providers. In action, how we are using the currency, so the currency gets generated through social investment, that can be used to crowdfund and crowdsource local earning opportunities. We would normally say what we think is volunteerism. We would incentivize that for local unemployable people, where they can earn it at a rate of $1 per hour of participation, and later trade it at one of our approved retailers that cuts out liquor, alcohol, all those degrading to society businesses. Technology behind Vollar, so we're building on blockchain. This ensures accountability, security of funds, and also allows us to open access to the currency for third-party developers down the line. We're developing two apps, one for accessing earning opportunities and crowdfunding them. We're also developing a mobile wallet for checking balance and transaction history. Down the line, we'll be developing accessibility tools such as integration with existing point-of-sale systems and a card-based system for making earning and spending easier for those without data. We're currently looking at developing that on MasterCard and Visa. Revenue-wise, Vollar makes its sustainability through a service charge when the Vollars are generated, and as well through premium services in-app, such as hidden features, analytics, support, that kind of thing. Our goal for 2018 is to have the first apps in the App Store by the summer. We plan to have 2 million Rand worth of Vollar generated and in circulation. We aim by the end of 2019 to have the organization self-sustaining and open access to third-party developers. By 2020, we want to have a strong national presence and explore expansion to India because there's such a great CSR market there as well, and we've already got interested parties contacting us from there. So that's a bit about Vollar. Locally in Stellenbosch, we're getting a lot of traction focusing on running our MVP here. The local municipality is really backing us, and they're looking to have Vollar integrated citywide as a solution to street poverty. I'll leave it at that, and I'll open the floor to your questions.
It's proven that small businesses within the first 2 to 3 years, it's the most difficult time of business, and that's where most businesses die. And you scaling, according to your presentation, you're showing that in the next 2 years, you'll be scaling up nationwide, possibly India. How do you exactly intend on doing that? And most importantly, how do you intend on generating that 2 million worth of Vollar in the first year?
So with regards to 2 million, the current CSI spend is greater than 7 billion Rand a year. We're trying to tap into, in the beginning, a very small fraction of that market. There's a lot of corporates that are already interested in using Vollar for incentivizing corporate volunteerism and others that are wanting to use it for social aid distribution. So we're kind of trying to open those networks through the blockchain, through the currency being active, to provide multiple inlets, not just through our application. That's where we get those potential for funding from.
How do you monitor that the volunteer work was actually done?
Good question. So first of all, we vet the businesses and the merchants that want to trade through our network. For the business side, for the volunteer side, we vet the non-profits that come on. Again, since there's a supply and a demand aspect, a non-profit would be not in their interest to actually do work locally that is actually costing them, because in a way, some of those Vollars come from a business's CSI spend that was given to them. So the business can actually trace, I gave my 100,000 Rand to this nonprofit, how did they use it, who did they hire, where did it go in the community, and what shops was it spent at?
In terms of whatever piloting or whatever you're doing, what retailers have, I mean, outside of interest, have you got any that have actually sort of come on board and are starting to work with you to pilot this?
So I will say it's very early stage. We began in March only. So we've done a lot of local research with local retailers, and there's been a lot of interest. So that's a lot with smaller retailers. The big players like your Checkers and that, it takes longer to get into. So at least we've tested the market that at least the small players are interested in accepting the currency. And for them, it's beneficial because it brings feet through their door, and they can basically sell out their currency to get their Rand value back later.
Now, that would be a word of advice, is stay with the small guys until you start to get that right, because you can waste a lot of time and actually land up running out of working capital while you're trying to land a big. So too many people are going for the big hit, and it's much easier to pilot here. Yeah.
You haven't answered my question on scaling up to national in India in 2 years.
So we are trying to make a scalable system. So I would say that our focus is South Africa, and opening the blockchain up later would allow other people in India to integrate the currency to their actual applications. So when I say scaling up towards India, that would be through that aspect. Our operations and our focus currently, at least in the next years, will always be South Africa and local. From a technology side, when we have to replicate the system, it's not very difficult for us to open access to India. I don't know if that answers fully your question.
How are you funding your current operations?
So we have initial seed funding of 150,000 Rand. That's how we're funding currently. And that will last us for maybe the next few months as we raise our next round.